Breaking news: Red Bull promises retribution following their devastating loss to McLaren in Australia. Red Bull has publicly stated their intention to retaliate, stating that they have already determined the main problems that caused their demise and are working on fixes right now. Red Bull is committed to resolving the issues, close the gap, and reclaim their supremacy. Following the confused team orders that cost him dearly at his home race, Oscar Piastri made headlines with a statement. The young Australian wasn't holding back when criticizing McLaren's plan, which was a foolish and heartbreaking rumor concerning his long-term future with the team. Fernando Alonso has finally provided insight into the horrific collision that rocked the Melbourne circuit. The Aston Martin veteran described the crucial elements that contributed to the tragedy, which sparked discussion about race management and track conditions. Let's talk and keep an eye out. For the first time in years, Red Bull is seeking retribution for its humbling loss to McLaren at the Australian Grand Prix. At the beginning of the Formula One season, Red Bull Racing has fallen behind. The defending champions, who were used to being in control during the turbo-hybrid era, suffered a humiliating loss to McLaren at the Australian Grand Prix, a result that has shocked the paddock community. In his McLaren MCL39, Lando Norris had an almost flawless weekend in Melbourne, taking pole position and turning it into a decisive race. The young Briton's victory was a testament to McLaren's remarkable step forward as he held off Max Verstappen's relentless pursuit, even in conditions that should have favored the Red Bull driver. Verstappen, who is known for his aggressive starts and ability to extract maximum performance in mixed conditions, started well from the front row, but it was evident from the first laps that Red Bull's RB21 lacked the superior race pace the team has become accustomed to. Despite staying within striking distance of Norris, his pace quickly started to struggle with excessive tire degradation, a weakness that has rarely affected Red Bull in recent years. By the middle of the race, his pace had dropped significantly, allowing the McLaren to extend its lead. A number of safety car interventions gave him a fleeting chance to fight back. But even in the closing laps, Verstappen was unable to mount a serious challenge. We can match them for 6 to 8 laps. But then our tire degradation sets in earlier than McLaren, and that's the main issue we have to work on. Red Bull's senior advisor Helmut Marko has already identified the fundamental issue that cost them the victory in Australia. The Austrian veteran acknowledged that Verstappen was still a threat in the final laps, but admitted that given the shifting circumstances and safety vehicles, IGN Norris was never really a choice. It's going to be a difficult season because, as history has shown, Red Bull Racing never takes a loss lightly. The Milton Keynes-based team has already started working tirelessly to address their tire wear issues, and with Adrian New's technical expertise, the RB21 could be a very different beast in the upcoming races. Max was there, I believe, in the last 6 laps. However, there was only one dry line, so overtaking was impossible. So the only option was to push Lando into a mistake, but Norris didn't crack, demonstrating how much he's improved. The early season struggle may have been set by McLaren's victory in Australia, but Red Bull is still a powerful force, and the defending champions now have a clear target to retaliate forcefully and regain their supremacy. Due to clumsy team orders during the Australian Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri LS McLaren Oscar Piastri's home race turned into a nightmare, which he believes was made worse by a perplexing call from his own team. Following a fierce battle in the rainy conditions at Albert Park, Piastri found himself in prime position to battle for the lead against his teammate Lando Norris, but what should have been a historic opportunity quickly devolved into frustration as team orders came into play. The Australian isn't holding back when criticizing McLaren's decision. From the beginning, Piastri looked like a true contender, especially after defeating Max Verstappen. Early in the race, Red Bull was in second place behind Norris. The Australian started to close in on his teammate, whose MCL39 seemed to have superior pace in the challenging conditions. Then, in the contentious radio call, Piastri's race engineer Tom Stellard told him that we should hold position, transition to the DV and clear the back markers. Piastri replied, "I'm faster, but okay." The 23-year-old complied, but by the time McLaren finally gave him the all-clear to attack Norris on lap 32, it was too late. Piastri had spent his entire tire life catching up, and a small mistake at turn 6 had cut his chances of battling for the victory in the race to a mere 2 seconds. What followed was a dramatic turn of events that sealed his fate. As the rain intensified, both McLaren drivers slid off the track. Norris was able to recover and pit immediately, but Piastri found himself stuck in the grass, desperately searching for reverse. He eventually rejoined but fell to the back of the grid, only managing to salvage P9, hardly the result he had envisioned for his home Grand Prix. Despite maintaining his composure in post-race interviews, it was clear Piastri was deeply frustrated by how the race unfolded. While acknowledging that the team's decision wasn't the sole reason for his disappointing finish, he made it clear that the call to hold position had affected his race. "We were holding position before that. By the time we were free to race, I had already taken too much out of my front left tire trying to catch Lando, but at that point there wasn't much I could do. Although He attempted to downplay the significance of the decision. His comments left plenty of room for interpretation. He also confirmed that he planned to sit down with McLaren to fully understand why the team had issued such an order in the first place. His comments only stoked rumors that McLaren's strategy had cost him a potential victory, but I believe the race and the conditions were pretty extreme today. We were getting close to back markers, there was only one dry line, and we weren't sure if more rain was coming. I'll talk to the team and try to better understand what the thinking was. The way McLaren handled the victory, which was immediately noticed by fans and commentators, drew harsh criticism, with many wondering if the team was already favoring Norris. There have been claims that McLaren was shielding their British driver because of the timing of their decision to only permit Piastri to compete after it was too late. Among those who saw this as a sign of things to come was Sky Sports F1 commentator Martin Brundle. We knew that McLaren was going to have a problem throughout the season, and here it is, team principal Zak Brown. However, he denied rumors that McLaren purposefully held Piastri back, saying that once we cleared the traffic, we simply held for a moment. It appeared that he dropped a wheel and then fell back a little, but they were both pushing hard in challenging conditions. On another front, Fernando Alonso expressed his annoyance with the contentious reorganization of Turn 6 at Albert Park, following his dramatic crash in the 2025 Australian Grand Prix. The Aston Martin driver believes that the changes made to the corner were meant to increase safety but have instead created new risks for drivers over time. In order to increase speeds and encourage overtaking, Turn 6 at Albert Park was widened by 7.5 meters in 2022. However, following George Russell's horrific crash at the same section in 2024, in which his Mercedes flipped after hitting the wall, officials made additional changes to the track layout for 20,125, including extended concrete runoff before the gravel trap and a new curb to slow cars down. However, as the race weekend progressed, it became clear that the gravel was creeping dangerously close to the racing line, setting drivers up for disaster. Alonso lost control in Turn 6, went into the barriers at Turn 7, and the safety car was sent out, making him the fourth person to retire from the race. Ray, the two-time world champion, told the media that he was confused by the incident, saying, "I need to review the incident, but it's difficult to understand at the moment. I wasn't off track. I just took a slightly different racing line than before and suddenly I found a lot of gravel right there. That's what caused me to lose the car." While others were able to recover from minor moments at the tricky corner, Alonso was not as fortunate. The Spaniard then attacked the course modifications, saying that the design of Turns S is probably not the best because it brings gravel onto the track rather than keeping it out, which is a major problem. Music claps, music.